September 15, 10 a.m. And so with that, I'd like to call this meeting to order here this morning at 10 a.m. And so with that, we can go to roll call with that.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Health Education and Human Services Committee. Roll call for September 15, 2025, at 10 a.m. in the Budget and Finance Conference Room. Will direct Arizona ongoing investigate, ongoing investigate, answered roll call, Honorable Vincent James.
Delegate James present.
Honorable Vincent James answered roll call, Honorable Dr. Inez.
Present.
Honorable Dr. Inez is present, Honorable Jermaine Simonson. Present. Honorable Jermaine Simonson answered roll call, Honorable George Thompson's excused, Honorable Curtis Nico.
Present.
Honorable Curtis Nico is present, Mr. Chair, you have 5 members present, 1 member excused, constitutes a quorum, including yourself.
Yeah, thank you for that. And so we do have 5 members here, and we can move on to invocation. Vice Chair, can you assist us this morning with the invocation?
Dance independent, adopting those and then sobre realistic. Don't relate unfortunately. She called you and you and not being about surrounding things in a way of imagining the whole things. Being not acceptable, we get on the same and for large skills, not human form. They are the cup, the both recognize and area of the fish land, South Education Human Service Committee, and yet that non legal Ashing, so that we live in putting the in the house state. Other home space, other home, Ashing to the south case, other home action for the whole, no second double up. For they form the whole up and the home, public needs in the Regional agent is not responsible for the district. Ashing support area, Abnica, table in the husband, or the area KF for the machine support. Neo, a form, Neo, so the dominant in the corner, arts or area corner, a profession legal ashing, I don't she focusing that things are in the morning. Area open on the undrained or the article action combination addition the history elation correction on history adult on the thought information check on in the idea combination leader action at the all you the net and long in action or you on Habadaria art for the national leader the fashion support on not the more con the check with for the section o con the Badaria le con the Canada don't the Badaria the home o eva a Hansen o con the just child in the code over Kevinson eva the Haganiki on the arts of the national leader come up with a case and the get legal the code. Så eventuelt personen den ikke skal videre den har skrevet hva skipene skjedde skjønningen da kritiske og Dinsen og watch har det skikket hatt den altså den maskin og det ikke but da er sånn den ikke har sitt og det er da annet så kommer en av den ikke så den maskin og det er kommer til å ikke skjønne under på det har da på den maskin og den har det gjerne har da 100 så kode larger. Now it's only that's a Danish dog, but in sheep dog, I don't bother in judicial check dogs for the nation legal so for the I shall no business name or the session so the support depends on the sound of each other. I think they have been in the home. You get a journal sleep or the session sleep.
Okay, now Vice Chair for that. So with that, 3 members. Announcements. Honorable Yingchen.
Oh, yeah, they've been okay. You also was inviting me, Vice Chairman Simonson. Ali with the Nakis Canada, Dana, the Southern Nakais, Henry, and the Manazan Creek, so I gave my cracking mason by. Quite a man, they should be the young day, a cracking mesa, so the die and make that to me. Quite a shanty, mobile home, but roughly taking his own of those standing making. I know quite a whole one, let's go. Foundation there came up. So the top roof end there was a usual as in the western. I don't know, the utility pole, the east, and then they. That's all. Then there's two main lines, this power pole stuff. I use in that stuff. I don't know, they horse corral. It still posted as it does, and it's men and down, yeah, and they popsicle now, I use in they all deep beige stuff. I don't they horse shit or corral that any of. If you need that shit out of the car, minutes and days of. Use the that stuff. Well, should be, but it's not on, so I know I hate these spawns or not. So, even in Canada, like, that's not on. And then there's another mobile home that they have the foundation there. They got a lady also. It's each by their own up. When the results of they see those and then to the vehicle results. That's just that stuff. A lot of far back in there, they were down on the it's the. Then another family, other, at the India to Nuya. Adi Hanasta, Daka, Hanasta. I don't know that India that he do what he was. A next one year was in Aja Hatch. Mesa Johanana Sur. The Aja Nada, in the Ya, they were from North, God made out by stop at the Italian by 9 years old. Because it was Sabza Nana, so they were never kind of the 8 and other arts. So I went over there and met all the families that were affected over there. They they won up a key and the tornado. She at the no on the young on the night, you know. Jenna, no, a craig. Mania not seen. They study is, you know. When they was it as some by the business is the bare grammar is that. By not touching it, no. It's just, you know, she's, you know. And then the being made them. I could, then out of the damage, it's that part of the whole line. A crow, I see, that's keen a lot, that's just, you know, I shouldn't, you know. It was the age, she died quite a lot, I don't know, and the being made, no, it could, I don't know, not it's Sunday, or 1 year, yeah, that's either, I don't, you know, labor, could have done it, so that's pretty really incredible, emotional side that they had over there. Well, it's Zito, I think by it, because the name, so you click it and. The Asian is in the. What I'm not, that's a big, yeah, the day Kashima, how they're gonna do all the other assessment, they, San County, though, they audit or yeah, when you share with the police department and the first responders and not all the bluff, firefighters, that, and you know, Montezuma Creek, and that, Utah health system, I run the fire department stuff, I mean, everybody has a really good response on it and quick response, so. There's no injuries, you know, that's a good thing. I don't know, they or squad doesn't need Tana and all, I guess they investigate for bodies or, you know, livestock or anything like that around the area. A crow, and, you know, hopefully that, you know, the assistant would really come forward quickly. The president, she would that you know, hopefully that he has a quick emergency response funds or something like that to provide services over there. Hey, with that, I just wanted to make that announcement to you all and, yeah, Chair.
Yeah, thank you for that, Honorable Unito, for that updated information. And so with that, committee members, are there any other announcements? There's none, let's move on to rule number 2, which is recognizing guests and visiting officials. Again, good morning, everyone, committee members, staff, and those that are in the audience here in person, and then those that are on the line. Good morning to each and every one of you guys. So with that, moving on to item number 3, review and adopt the agenda. Staff, you can assist us.
Yes, good morning, and members of the, Health Education Human Services Committee. You have your proposed agenda for the Health Education Human Services Committee 25th Nomination Council regular meeting September 15th, 2025 at 10 a.m. Presiding the Honorable Lindsay James, Chairperson, the Honorable Jeremy Simonson, Vice Chairperson, places the Budget and Finance Committee in person. We get telecommunications from Rob. One copy of the order of convocation announcements, 2 items, is visiting officials, 3 reviewing the council agenda, 4 reviewing the document emails, you have one. August 11th, 2025, and August 25th, 2025, and those are, convocation needs to. 5 is reports, A is a report, that is now concerning Veterans Administration, Executive Director's report, presenter is Bobby Baldwin, Executive Director of NMPA. You have the update, the report on, the update and revised information to legislation number 0195-4. And updated proposed document revision that includes LOC's amendments, also attached the revised 10% scale calculated by the Congress. Presenters are Division of Human Resources, who received a high merit or directed. Division of Human Resources, now Deputy Director of Division of Human Resources, Judy Gutierrez, Program Manager, the HR Department of Child Support Services. Department of Justice, Christopher Snyder, Principal Attorney, now the Department of Justice, Andrea Anderson, Travel Court Advocate, now for the Department of Justice. C is a report by Division of Children and Family Services, update on the transition and implementation of the 477 plan for NDCFS and its programs. Presenters are Thomas Cody, Executive Director of DCFS, and Salazar Jim, Deputy Director of DC. And the main signs. The legislation was tabled 30 days from the primary sponsor and litigation service. 7 new business, 8 is legislation 0210-25, an action relating to health education human services and communities. Confirming the appointment of Dr. Dolly Jensen to the College Board of Regents for a 6-year term. Sponsors are Delegate also and responsible for delegate work code. You have 8 closed meeting announcements and adjournment, and you have your meetings as listed. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, for that, again. So with that, committee members, do I have a motion? Motion made by Vice Chair, second. Second by Honorable Dr. Jennings. Committee members, are there any corrections, deletions, add-ons to the agenda? Honorable Dr. Jennings?
Yes, thank you, Chair. So on report C, under the division for children and family services, if we can have the name of Dr. Laura Mike, policy director for DCFS.
Laura, yeah.
Mike.
Mike, good.
But
Laura, one. Vice Chair,
No.
we're good? Audience, visitors, no items, corrections, deletions? There's none?
No, there.
I don't know if you know that.
There's not here.
I don't see that in session.
I did email him, Mr. Chair.
Okay, you did email them?
Yeah, last, Thursday.
I don't get told it's not here, you guys. So with that, committee members, if there's no others, how do you vote? Honorable Reno Knights Brigade? Honorable Vice Chair?
Green.
Honorable Dr. Nez? Honorable Unito? Green? So with that, we do have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and not voting. And that includes chair and excuse honorable Paul. So with that, we move on to item number 4, and that is review and draft the journal. And so with that, we do have 2 journals that is before us. August 11th and August 25th, Christine's regular meeting. We have a motion to accept as written. Committee members, motion made by Vice Chair, second by Honorable Lena Ned. Committee member, are there any questions to adopting and accepting our journal for August 11th, August 25th? There's none. Honorable Dr. Nance, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Vice Chair,
Green.
Honorable Lena Nancy Gay,
Green.
Honorable Unito, how do you vote? With that, he votes green, so with that, there's 4-0-2, that includes chair and excuse Honorable Tolton not voting. So with that, we move on to item number 5, report, now Foundation Veterans Administration, Executive Director's Report. Presenter, Ms. Bobby Baldwin, Executive Director. Going once. Bobby Baldwin, going twice, Ms. Bobby Baldwin, going 3 times. No show. And so with that, we'll move on to item number 2, under report, which is the update report on the updated and revised information. 2, an updated proposed document revision that includes LLC's amendment and attached to revised 10% or 20% scale calculation by the economist. Legislation number 0195-25, an action related to the Law and Order Committee and the Health and Education and Human Service Committee. Approve amendments to the now nation child support guidelines and child support schedule. Presenters, Division of Human Resources, Mr. Potty, Mr. Nolly, Mr. Otero, Department of Justice, Mr. Schneider, and Ms. Anderson. And so with that, I only see Ms. Potty here, Mr. Nolly, and Ms. Anderson. So I don't know for the program manager. Mrs. Harrison. So,
Vi vet på traffic dan het il klar addition capitalism same my custom. But we'll proceed.
okay, so do we have the documents? The revised 10% and 28% scale calculation by the economist? Do we have that document? Do you have that email? Sam?
Okay.
No hard copies? Ms. Toddy?
Yes, good morning, honorable members of the Health, Education and Human Services Committee. At this time, we do not have the documents in front of us. Ms. Potero is held up in traffic. They're putting oil on the pavement and there's only 1 lane and she says there's a long line coming from there, but we do have the packets ready to go and she's got them in her possession, so.
All right, so with that, if we don't have the documents, then I guess we'll just move it to the next Tuesday meeting. Which will be next Monday, and since it's not here. So based on committee rules, we'll just go ahead and kindly request committee members that we move this on to our next Tuesday meeting. that we don't take any actions or anything like that at the moment, because we don't have the documents that was requested for, from our live testing meeting. So with that, we'll just go ahead and skip this report and move on to the next item. We'll see you at our next testing meeting. Ms. Toddy, Ms. Gonzalez, everything, thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So with that, we'll move on to item C, report Division of Children and Family Service, update on the transition and implementation of the 477 plan for the NDCS and its program. And I believe we do have to consider Ms. Jim here and it's Mike.
I think Susie, actually.
All right, so with that, Mr. Lawful Jim. Laura Mike.
Who was, Mike's, title?
Policy director.
With that, we're doing third call for this, for Russell Jim and the Snow Mike. Regarding the presentation. And the update on the transition and implementation. What's that, it's going for NDCS and it's. I believe, this. The law Jim has some hard copies. Documents, their status is not passing out. And so with that, we could give time to. This Jim to provide us a report, or 30 minutes report. On the transition and implementation. So with that, the STEM, you're aware of the procedures and process of going through the agenda and being presented. So with that, 40 minutes, thank you for the first exchange before the.
Yeah, Dave and thank you this morning for the time to provide our report. The agenda did move pretty quickly, so Dr. Laura Mike is on her way. If we could give her time when she does get here, we'd appreciate that. We also have our department managers who will be here shortly in case there are any questions specifically for them. So with that, Honorable Chair Vince James and Vice Chair Jermaine Simonson and our honorable delegates of the Health Education and Human Services Committee. My name is Samlatsa Jim. I am the Deputy Director for the Division for Children and Family Services. In Shwagi Ayatsanabahni and Shna, Andana Abashichin, Andana Dashmalado, Ashiknadashiche. I'm honored to provide this report on our historic efforts with our 477 plan. We do have a written report that was provided to you, and I'll go ahead and summarize the key parts of that report that was provided to you. We do have the background information on Public Law 102. And for those of you listening online, which may include Mr. Thomas Cody, our Executive Director, is currently on travel, but will be online virtually to join us if needed. We have been working on this effort for over a year now since its passing of this legislation. We want to thank our nomination oversight committee members for passing this legislation, and then also to our nomination 25th Council for also passing the 477 law with us. This historic work pulls together our programs within our Division for Children and Family Services. It collectively funding and also gives us the authority to work together for our Navajo children, our clients and our families with a much streamlined approach. We do have history of the 477 plan that we implemented within our division. This was implemented prior to my arrival to the division. And since then, the staff has been diligently working on implementing and preparing for the transition into 477. There are many tribes across the country who have implemented a 477 plan. And for us, the Navajo Nation, we are the largest tribe to implement a 477 plan. Right now, our staff in our division is in planning and preparation. We are in transition mode. We have many of our staff that have been meeting in various work teams to prepare for this transition, which will begin on October 1st, 2025. That's just in a couple of weeks. Some highlights of our efforts include the following. Right now, we have a welcome team, which is made up of department managers and key staff who are creating a welcome team that will be receiving all of our callers and our visitors at our Department of Family and Children's Services offices throughout the Navajo Nation. This gives us an opportunity to become a one-stop service provider within our full division. So any families that need services can work through our welcome center, can get directed to the appropriate offices to get services. The welcome team members will be engaging in caller and visitors to determine which DFS department or program will receive the referral. And we really expect a warm handoff to ensure that our Navajo Nation visitors and callers are connected to the offices within our division. We do see this as a huge benefit because we do understand many of our Navajo people continue to get the runaround within many of the Navajo Nation programs across our nation. However, with 477, we now can have one client within our full division that can be served. We do expect the welcome team to continue testing this week, testing their plan, and then next week we'll be going into a full orientation mode to prepare our welcome team on October 1st. The next thing we are working on is the funding. Available funding for the 477 plan has been worked on with our principal accountant and all of our accountants within each department. A few programs such as the Department of Child Care and Development, the Department of Self-Reliance, and the Department of Family Services will be spending prior year funds within other programs such as Indian Child Welfare Act program. They'll be using the 477 plan come October 1st. This consolidation of our funds has been really critical to 477. So if you have learned about the 477 plan over the year, it's mainly about consolidating all of our funds from the federal programs. And with this, we have carry forward that usually if it's not fully expended, we have to revert it back to federal government. But with this 477, we get to keep the funds and continue to use it. For the next point of our 477 plan, we have a retention of our current DCFS staff. All of our departments and programs will continue operation as is. There may be a few changes to personnel, such as the transfer of contract analysts from the Department of Child Care Services to the 477 plan. However, we will have support sections that will create new positions, and therefore we won't have a significant impact on our current staff, but we will have new positions created. 477 is really about improved services. DCFS is aware of administrative burdens that our DCFS clients face in the past. and how our people have encountered many challenges, from poor customer service to no communication and follow-up, from consistently providing documents and forms to being referred to other offices. Therefore, with the 477 plan, DCFS has heard the concerns from clients, and we've created a way for clients to receive comprehensive wraparound services centered on our clients, our families, and ensuring that all human and social service needs are addressed and met. That's the beauty of the 477 plan. So right now, in terms of a status on our progress and our transition, we have the 477 budget, which was prepared and submitted to the Office of Management and Budget, which includes the division's request for a salary wage adjustment. The finance and accounting section is waiting for business units to be assigned for our 477 budget. The biggest challenge was really getting our funds drawn down from the federal government, and since we accomplished that, we feel that we've made a huge success there. For our drawdown and expenditure, the 477 funding has been drawn down as of, or will be drawn down as of October. Was drawn down as of October 1st, 2024, and has been in our coffers and available for expenditure. Some departments and programs are spending prior year funds before using their 477 funds. So it's definitely a huge undertaking in terms of consolidating the funds and getting those business units established, but we're making progress. We also have a voice over internet protocol that we will be using and getting ready for implementation. DFS is waiting for Navajo Tribal Utility Authority to provide cost estimates of our VoIP system, which will be used by our 477 welcome team. They'll be tasked to receiving calls and contact from the public and having the ability to connect callers with the appropriate staff and program. In the meantime, we are training our welcome team with a script, our process, our customer service, which is ongoing and will be completed on October 1st, once we make that transition. As far as review of tribal assistance system elements, all DFS departments and programs are using the tribal assistance system, which we call TAS. It's a database software that is managed by Eagleson. We started it in 2019 at the Department of Self-Reliance, and Eagleson has been instrumental in developing our DFS case management system. TAS has been implemented across the division with staff attending various levels of training depending on their usage capabilities. And our client information has been uploaded into the system and checked for accuracy and completion by the DCFS TAS administrators. Our users are available at the local DFS departments and programs and offices to provide technical assistance and support using TAS. They'll continue to facilitate training as needed. Moving on to the chart. DCFS created a 477 plan support section. This is an office that we have created within our division under the Office of the Executive Director, which was included in our DCFS Master Plan of Operation and our organizational chart. With legal review, it was completed on September 9th of 2025. And our OED staff were collaborating with the departments and programs to address the questions and comments posed by the Department of Justice. Once these are rectified, DCFS will proceed with the 164 review process to gain approval of our revised master plan of operation and org chart. Currently, all of our department and programs continue to operate as is, but we will be working toward full consolidation of services within this year. As far as staffing for the 477 support section, The Office of the Executive Director is in the process of establishing permanent positions to oversee the operations of the 477 plan. This will include a program manager two, a senior accountant, an accountant, a contract analyst, and a senior program project specialist, as well as a program and project specialist, a quality assurance specialist, administrative assistant, and senior office specialist. The team will provide administrative and technical support to the division as the activities and services identified in the 477 plan are carried out. DCFS is also collaborating with the Office of the Controller to place an accountant OOC to address 477 plan financials. The position classification questionnaires or PCQs have been created for each of these positions are in the process of revision and correction before submission to DPM. So DCFS has pulled most of the positions from the current vacancies that we have within our own budgets. Next steps regarding our 477 plan. We have the salary wage adjustment, the personnel list, which was submitted to the Department of Personnel Management, was provided by DCFS and requested for changes for our new salary schedule, for our division. OMB recommended the departments and programs use, the CL scale under DPM approval of the salary wage adjustment. And our division is moving forward with submitting all the documents to OMB and DPM for implementation. As far as amendments to the 477 plan, DCFS will incorporate amendments to the 477 plan that address changes in childcare regulations, family, dating, and domestic violence, and providing shelter services. Our division will also include language to cover administrative costs as authorized by the BIA in our 477 plan amendments. Other amendments are pending, but upon submission of the proposed changes, the plan may undergo a 90-day review by the BIA. The Navajo Nation will continue to determine the human and social services needs of the people and will tailor the 477 plan to reflect comprehensive, client-centered, and holistic service delivery systems. The next thing we are working on is the Navajo Treatment Center for Children and their families. Our department was initially included, however, the Indian Health Services was not favorable of the request. So as a result, NTCFS will have to wait to expand and become a part of the 477 plan in this upcoming year. As far as investment, DCFS consulted with the Office of the Controller about available options for investment. And there is interest revenue gained from the investment, which must go back to the 477 plan budget and to be used according to our approved 477 plan. So with that, Shananta, I'd like to leave the last remaining time for our introduction from our policy director, Dr. Laura Mike, who can introduce herself and just give some closing words to our report.
Good morning, guys. Dr. Laura Mike and Shan Turchi in the Shalom Kinkichi Bashishin Kia Ani Bashin the Washington Bashin. I am the Senior Programs and Project Specialist with the Office of Executive Director under the Division for Children and Family Services. And been tasked with overseeing a lot of the 477 activities. And as Ms. Shin had indicated, we are in the process of transitioning fully to the 477 plan with a going live date of October 1st, 2025. And we have been collaborating with our division department managers and program supervisors in ensuring that we're prepared with training, with ensuring all of our documentation is in line, our budgets. And we did submit the master plan of operation and organizational chart to the Department of Justice. So we're hoping to get some approvals in place before we go live. Thank you.
With that, Sheriff, all that concludes our report. Yeah.
Right.
2 minutes and 43 seconds.
2 minutes and 43 seconds, you're waiting the rest of that time?
Chair, Executive Director, Mr. Thomas Cody online, if we could, introduce himself, if not, then we're going to start, okay?
Yeah, for now, we're gonna do it in person,
Okay.
so. So with that, you're waiting the rest of the 2 minutes and 43 seconds. So with that, committee member, do I have a motion to accept the report? Motion made by Honorable Dr. Andy Yes, second by Honorable Leland Nancy Gay. So with that, committee members, are there any questions? Honorable Dr. Nance?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I will approach today for the presentation, the introductions. I have a couple of questions, a few questions. So on page one, the second bullet regarding available funding for the duration of the 477 plan, kind of in the mid paragraph, it's like what we spending prior. So, and the Department of Family Services will be spending prior year funds, other year, et cetera, et cetera. Can you just elaborate on what that paragraph means and my interpretation is that we're gonna utilize those funds, any existing funds prior to 12477, but I could be wrong. Could you just help clarify that? And then I know there are several changes that are acknowledged for personnel, but also retreating, and I think that's part of the whole 477 plan is that you focus a lot of the employees. So currently across any other positions going into a 477 plan, are there any positions in jeopardy? Whether administratively, regardless of what the title is, are there any? And then, page 204, you talk about the budget, the 477 budget. Do you anticipate that the OMB, both the finance and accounting section will, provide the business unit, is that required before the 477? And then same with the voiceover internet protocol from, ETUA, as well as your plan of operations and your organizational chart. Would a lot of this have to be completed before you do the 477 initiation? And since we're coming up on about 3 weeks, and I just need clarification there. I have a few more under your next steps, but I will wait for a follow-up. Thank you, Chair.
So with that, let me go back to the presenters. For small.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Dr. Andinez, for your questions regarding prior funds. The prior funds are going to be used because we want to extend first in, first out. So you're correct. We do want to extend those for the programs, and that is allowable. And then the second question, regarding any positions being in jeopardy, there are no positions in jeopardy. As a matter of fact, we're going to need more people to help us, and we look forward to hiring new faces and getting job vacancy announcements out there as we make this transition. To the next question regarding the business unit, the voice over IP, and our plan of operation, just for clarification. All of the approvals have already been made, and all of this is already in motion. They're not waiting on anything to start. October 1st, we have all the authorizations and approvals to start October 1st. What we're waiting on are just more of the details. We do have our overall business unit, for example, for 477, and it's just getting that through the final steps. We also have our voice over IP already outlined and ready to go. It's just those final steps. And then with our plan of operation, we already have the full approval. It's just amendments. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Honorable Vice Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jen, for your 477 overview. I have a couple of questions. Well, can you provide a spreadsheet of the funds that you have currently available? And I wanted to include your external funds, which you are majority external funds. But I'd like to see what due dates you have on there for expenditure. If you could provide that by end of day if you can. And then what are how are we doing in terms of spending? The other thing that I'm reading, as I'm reading your 477 report, is you're talking about your salary adjustments. And you were saying that OMB recommends the departments and programs use the salary scale until DPM approves the salary wage adjustment. And I know we have Department of Human Resource sitting here, Ms. Toddy, but I'm just wondering when is that going to happen? Because the concern I have is that you have external funds, and certainly they encourage and recommend you to adjust your salary to a livable wage and, or whatever is commensurate with maybe somebody's experience and education, but if we're waiting, if OMB is suggesting that you wait, or I don't know if it's Department of Human Resource that is telling you to wait, but I'm just not sure about that. Because one, I don't even know what that timeline is. I don't know how long you're being asked to wait. In the meantime, we are not paying people adequately well, the funds are there. If the funds are there, they should be used. And so there's no reason, I think, to hold up, or I don't think it's meant intentionally to be punitive to you, to your employees, but it feels like it is. And so if there's a possibility that you have the ability to proceed, and how might that happen, let me know what that plan is, because I certainly would support that. The other thing is you say that IHS did not, they were not favorable to their request to be included in the 477 plan. Can you tell me kind of can you elaborate on that, and what additional comments or maybe, documentation did they provide to you to say to you that they were not, favorable to the request? So those will be my questions for now, Chair.
Well, thank you very much for that, presenters. Response.
Thank you, Vice Chair Arlong Simonson, for the questions. So to your question regarding a spreadsheet on our expenditures and due dates, we can get that for the end of the day. And again, I believe you're asking regarding our 477 funds, correct?
All fun.
Okay, all funds, okay. All right, so we can have our principal accountant, Brenda Sosi, lead that effort, and then we can get that to you and the overall has committee. And then for, the question regarding our salary adjustments, that has been a work in progress with the Department of Personnel Management. And we may have made, huge progress in the last couple of weeks, and we're happy to announce that we will be able to implement our salary assessment or a salary adjustment on October 1st of this year. So there'll be an announcement probably this week with BPM, I think Thursday, and so we'll be able to share that news. And then as far as the Indian Health Services and the there was not a favorable response. They definitely needed more time from the Indian Health Services, they definitely needed more time. And I'll go ahead and ask Dr. Laura Mike to elaborate on that question.
Thank you, Sheena, for that question, regarding AHS and, their request, our request for including NTTCF under 477. However, I think they just needed some more time, as Deputy had indicated, and were asking some questions to the program that they had posed to the Department of Justice as well, and to the Office of Executive Director. And unfortunately, we're not privy to that information or to that question. But I understand they are still in those discussions and possibly reconsidering, but at this time, that information is within the NTCCF management and OED, and I believe the Department of Justice as well.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you with that,
Oh, good morning, I'm not in so thank you for providing this report for us. And giving us a hard copy. I have a question on your staffing. You have all of these program manager twos, senior accountant and all the way down. I go, just reading your, your report, you know, it sounds like, it's part of it is geared to, low income. Auto and that way, single parent. Call some burden here in your staff, you need a community that. You need someone to go out to our chapters. When you travel out there in the rural area, like where my, majority of my chapters are. You know, they'll follow, you know, a lot of our single parent have no transportation. And they have the hardest time going to your office. Auto and Hannah, though. I don't know if that's under your program, it is. They need to be more polite to a single parent. I know they're struggling. If you ever been a single mom, you're gonna know what I'm talking about. But the Joe Sani. The update ego, question. Yada, Tashi Ani. But they have a time to where they want to just give up, throw the rope. But they tie that knot and they hang on to that. It's up on the case at all. I don't want to hear the office here, and it's not invaded and then it's kind of the fun and it's enough to cover the house you put there. You chop it and the house this way, but that don't sit on. We went through that. A day then, there's no services like that. But, you know, we gotta think about those single moms, some of them. They have the hardest time to get to Kenya. Yesterday, a single mom came to me saying, she needed gas money. Just to drive from one community to the city. So you have to think about those, and they don't get that much money too. I bet that every people, but him come on, that's it, since my idea that we like myself. My idea, how long I ever just says, you know, it's really tough. We're singing that, I'm singing that again. And, you know, we gotta think about those people. Sure, all this is nice, program manager, senior program, all this, we don't know. But sometimes in those positions, we forget how we got there. We look down on these people that provides the income that comes into our hands. So, in here, we need to put that, and I really acknowledge Corinne. But that's about Corinne Lee. She came out to my community, she sat there for almost 12 hours at a couple of my chapters to be there with for the people. Uncle D, there's in here, we need a community rep, we need someone that can come out to the chapter, that way they don't go too far. So, keep this shit going, you know, and really work with our single moms, and you know, we even have some dads that are single. But I think that the stat are more stronger than the Sasani, China Hastana, Chanda, Chico. Evan, this case, we shouldn't be believing the Jericho. Up at our aid, Indigenous hospital, on the Edmonton board outside, yeah, will continue and bringing this to us, yeah. But our hospital, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That, let me go back to the presenters.
Commissioner, Leonis Begay for that comment and your recommendation is a great recommendation because right now with our welcome team, that's where we can make sure we don't forget to add the community representatives, our community involvement specialists. Currently, we do have staff like Kareem who are assigned to go out to chapter communities at all of our departments and programs. However, we can be intentional with our welcome team because the 477 now allows us to pull staff together to create that wraparound service. And that way we have someone covering every client out there. And it's not just one program that's responsible, it is now one division that is responsible. So thank you for that recommendation, and I'm working with the welcome team, so I'll make sure that we get that addressed and included, and again, we do see how effective it has been to going out to the chapters and also going to home visits. And so we can be very intentional now that we have 477 to do that. We know that transportation has been a big problem as well, so we're gonna use all options to provide wraparound services to our customers. From phone to internet if they have it, to outreach in communities, and then also for those programs that do home visits. That such as our social workers, including all of that in our wraparound services. I think that was the main thing regarding your comment, again.
All right, thank you, for the response of that. Let me go back to the follow-up question on roll documents.
So I think in the request that Vice Chair made regarding the funds, if you can include which programs that are going into the 477, because I know there's only certain programs going, but those that have existing funds, since you're using the FIFO strategy, how much those remaining funds are. It'd be, I'll save my questions until I see those figures, I'll say that. So, and then the next thing, I want to follow up on, and I'm glad Vice Chair brought it up, was regarding IHS. So Navikia to get past Navi resolution, Navi NA-12-25, and that was a legislation that I sponsored. And that was regarding Arizona Senate Bill 1671 that provided for traditional services. And IHS apparently needs more time regarding the concerns over ATCCF. So if that's something that I feel are supported by our IHS facilities, then I think that would help them to at least understand why that was necessary. Into the whole studies and plan. So if that's something that you want to adopt in your strategy, when corresponding with IHS, I think that would be something to consider. Then on the hiring, and I'm glad APM is still here, HR. So I believe in virtual positions. And I kind of contradict myself sometimes because I was a big fan when we went into virtual platforms in the pandemic. But that's me, I was an employee at the time. But I know that there are positions that I feel would help benefit a lot of our relatives who are living in urban settings. They Phoenix development goal, they has been that, they answered that. So, they don't want to come home, which is fine, you know, there's certain reasons for that. But I think it's something that I shared with Ms. Toddy, is that what positions can be deemed virtual, where there's some sort of level of certainty and assurance and accountability that they're actually doing work, which is why I was really favorable to online, because I witnessed some folks neglect and abuse that. But I think it's important that there's some level there, and I don't know if that's something that can be considered. Motivation money has you felt when they come out to the community, and we work well with a lot of the DCFS programs as well in our region here. And I think when they do certain services to our urban relatives, I think that would be beneficial to them, and I think that's where a lot of this, these positions can take place. So that's also another recommendation to consider, here. So those are just some of my additional comments and then recommendations as far as the report, the forthcoming report, and then concerning our IHS and position too. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. With that, Vice Chair?
Oh, again, a couple of questions. I really appreciate, Chef Emily and SBA talking about outreach to our chapters. And I remember there was a time that, we even talked about possibly placing maybe kiosks or some kind of self-service instrument at these, local or maybe the more rural communities. So people can kind of navigate that on their own and either obtain applications or, you know, make connections to your case managers or service providers, and they later follow up with the, you know, recommendation that she has, as well as that community liaison. More than ever, I think you know that we have our DAP meetings, we have all the information there that tells us that our families and our people are really struggling, and that there is a lot of service needed out there. And so I think more than ever now, that outreach, not only with your division, but I also within DOH. I know that there's a way that both of you have the ability to coordinate and really get out there to the communities and to the rural communities. So the other thing that she has sure mentioned that I really appreciate is serving those in our metropolitan areas. And so Phoenix Indian Center had approached us and wanted us to request for a budget of some sort. They're not asking for a ton of money, but they're asking, and I was gonna review what their request was, but my computer average died. So I wanted to review what their request was and what they needed. And I see that they are serving a large number of Navajo population at their Indian Center. And that there also is a large employee of Navajo folks working there. And so when I look at their Indian Center and I look at the things that they do, you know, they're continuously putting on workshops and just activities that keep the Navajo people there connected. And that was really important because, Crescentia here, invited me to the Indian Child Welfare Act event on Saturday. And it was really, you know, when I was thinking about it and I was like, they asked me a really good question, while I served on the panel there. And the folks there wanted to know how they would, what they would, how they, how I stayed connected to my communities. And I think what they were really asking was, you know, them living in the city. And there are a lot of, you know, non-natives that participated in that because they are caretakers of our Navajo children. And so they wanted to somehow support the little ones that they're taking care of and keeping them connected to their culture. And the only thing I could recommend at the top of my head was the Phoenix Indian Center, that certainly would be a place to go to because I believe they're starting a language class here really soon. And I thought that was really important and it felt more important to me than ever to try to get them additional funds because you know, we are 400,000 Navajos, 400,000 plus Navajos, and half of them are off the reservation. And it even can allow, I mean, and then that got me to further thinking that I would even say that, because a lot of things go through your head when you're starting to think about, I want to request for funds for this, whatever it is. And then I thought for a moment there that my own chapters might be upset with me and say, well, how come you're not asking for money for us? And you're asking for someone else. But then the reality is, as delegates, we represent the entire nation. And the other fact is that half of the nation lives off the nation. And so, but we do receive, you know, funds, especially in the case of ARPA, with their, you know, their information. So that is, you know, so those are, you know, good points and arguments, but I'm wondering then, as she has said, what positions might you be able, because from what when I went to visit the Phoenix Indian Center, I was, and I might, I'll have to double check on this, but I was more than certain that Miss Juliana Krupa mentioned that her facility has space so that there are offices available there. And I'll have to double check that, don't take my word for it. But she did mention that there was space and we toured their facility, it's a beautiful place. So I'm pretty certain she mentioned that there could be room if, you know, one of our programs wanted to place someone there. And I think at the time, the big issue was, communities or individuals obtaining their CID, and that was the whole ICE fiasco. And so, you know, a lot of the complaints that she received from the Navajo people trying to get help was that we go home, we have to, because it all has to be done in person. We go home sometimes, take a day only to find the office closed or, they've closed early. And so, you know, it's a major deal, I think, for people, as my sister mentioned, not everyone has transportation. So when a Navajo person comes all the way back from Phoenix to their respective agency to get a CIB and their office is closed, that's really, you know, aside from the visiting family, that is a wasted trip, especially if your whole goal was to get a CIB. So those are services that can be rendered there, and I think, I would like to hear from you, and looking at your 477 plan. Is that, do you have the ability to go outside the nation, you know, to provide those services, especially to a city with a high population of Navajo people? And what is the possibility that you are able to post a position there? Obviously, with the amount of kids in foster care there is a huge need for children and family services. So what can you provide there at the Phoenix Indian Center? And are you able to extend and utilize your federal funds to help pay them for the more Navajo specific activities that they host there?
Yeah, thank you. With that response. Is there?
The budget question regarding why this IHS and see. Thank you, Vice Chair, I'll get Simonson and, Dr. Nez. Let me go ahead and start with, the questions with, or the comments with, Honorable Dr. Andy Nez. We can provide, again, that additional information regarding which program and the fundings. So, we can make sure we provide that. We didn't provide that in this report, but we will do a little more extensive one for you. For IHS, thank you for that recommendation. That will be helpful. Resource and those with their talent and skills to help us, especially in the urban settings. We do need to provide that support to our relatives who are either in the border towns or even in urban cities. So I myself, and I know our director supports virtual positions. It's just a matter of really getting that approval through the Department of Personnel Management and really coming up with those acceptable work parameters, as you stated. So we definitely would like to have virtual positions, and if the Department of Personnel Management can assist us with that, that would be great. For Delegate Simonson, we do have some of our departments that are testing out online portals right now to serve as self-service kiosks or those types of things. So we do see that this will be more effective once we become 477, and to have those portals and kiosks connected through our systems. So again, those are already being tested through some of our departments, and we appreciate the recommendation. We can definitely keep you updated as we start through this transition on how we're able to reach our communities, our families, either through community liaisons or through our online portals or kiosk systems, and let you know the progress and status. For the families that are struggling, we definitely hear it from our partners through our Internet Action Plan. And we definitely need to get our Navajo Department of Health coordinated with us so that we can reach those families more effectively. So thank you for that recommendation. I know that's been a big piece of our work moving forward with the Internet Action Plan. We do have a lot of our clients that do call in from the Phoenix area as well as the Albuquerque area. We have a lot of Navajo families that do need support. And we do have some of our staff that have been doing itinerant services, which is traveling to those cities and providing assistance at times when they can. We want to continue that and build upon that with our 477 wraparound services. So for our urban Navajos, our urban relatives, we do know that it would be best to have someone stationed there, an employee assigned in those cities so that they can go to them face to face and work on their applications and so forth. Again, those positions that are off the Navajo Nation do need to get approval from the Department of Personnel Management. And I think we do have one position that was approved out in Phoenix for a social worker, I believe. And so those types of positions we're slowly making progress on, but I do think it would be great to continue to do that. And if there is office space in the Phoenix Indian Center, that would also be great, because when we do have positions, sometimes we don't have office space for positions. So I think that answers those questions. As far as a listing of which departments are on 477, I think there's only two that are not, and that would be our streets, or Navajo Center for treatment of families, and then also our IGBA program. I think those are the only two, am I correct?
I have to go over, so there's one.
Oh, in Arizona Long-Term Services. But they're all making progress toward that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Really quickly, well, maybe not quickly, but I do have some questions. And so thank you for responding back to, my colleagues here. And so, in regards to retention of current DCF staff, you indicated there's gonna be no impact on current staff. Um, but when you go further into your report, in regards to your NTCCF, IHS was not unfavorable to have that program part of the 477. And so those individuals are they going to be under salary? I can already see this, Charlotte Big Thumb saying, they're not part of the 477 program. And so they wouldn't qualify for that increased salary. And so it takes me back to your question, which is on page 2 at the very top of your, staff not going to be impacted. But for sure, those staff that are under the now treatment center for children and families are going to be impacted. Because they're not gonna be part of the 477 plan. And so, in that same context, who is the contact person at IHS that has indicated that this program cannot be part of the 477 plan? And unless you know why, they don't want, now for treatment center for children and their families to be part of the 477. And so if you can let us know if that is the case, or is this program going to go? Which program do you guys plan, or which division do you guys plan on this program going under? Or are they going to revert back to IHS? Because at that point, you guys are gonna be under 477 plans, and that's gonna have a tremendous issue and problems because again, looking back to the database that you guys are gonna be utilizing, which is in here, you indicated the Eagle Sun. I don't know if that program has access to Eagle Sun. And if they're not part of 477, will they continue to be able to have access to the 477 because they will no longer be part of the plan of 477? So it does have a big impact on those staff, from my perspective, unless I'm understanding it wrong. And it takes me to my next question, which is on page 3, which is your master plan of operation, your organization chart. And so I don't think the committee has been shared with this master plan or the organization chart. And so that questions me as to where are the staff under NTCCF going? Are they still part of your org chart and your master plan? Because I guess this would be questions for me to ask the Department of Justice. And so, because right now, if it hasn't been approved or if it hasn't been in place for you guys, maybe that is one of the questions that the Department of Justice has. It's where are these individuals going to go? Where is this program going to go? And that's something that I need to understand because, again, because of these individuals under NTCCF, it really brought out some good numbers and data information for you guys to transfer and make yourself go under the 477. And right now, at this point, they're like somewhat food. And so that's the part that's very bothersome. And my question to the Department of Justice is that if they don't approve your master plan or your organization chart, and how do you decide to move forward with your 477 plan? And then I guess all of this entails with a lot of funding. We all know that there's misfunding that are misused at this point by president and president's cabinet members. We all know that. We can't deviate from that. Some way, somehow, we know that information, but for some reason, we're hiding it. Eventually, things like that will surface up. But I leave it up to your guys' expertise and knowledge. The respect that you guys have for ineligible people. Or ineligible disabled children that can't speak up for themselves, or disabled veterans, now the people up there. And so if you know that funding is misspent, say something, just don't let it be. And I think that's where, if there's a concern coming from controller. Regarding the way this funding is going to be put in place, and again, you guys did put it in your document to some extent about the office of the controller. And then having an accountant there at the office of the controller's office. So that's an issue of a concern. I think that has been already reviewed and addressed in the past with prior programs. To where, yes, you do have an individual there at the controller, but then that individual knows that that funding is not allowable, but still allows for paperwork to go through. Because at the end of the day, this individual that is sitting as an accountant at the controller's office is still supervised by the division. In this case, it would be Mr. Thomas Cody. And so there are going to be threats and issues that are going to be done to process paperwork that is not allowable. And I think that's where the biggest concern is coming from Department of Justice and Office of the Controller. How is this going to be controlled? How are we going to be accountable? Knowing that this individual is doing the right thing, even though this individual has access to the data system, the database system at the controller to expedite these funding requests. And so that's a very important piece that I'm trying to hear you guys talk about, but I don't think it's gonna be brought up here. And so there's some very critical issues that come into factor regarding the information that you have just shared with the committee here. And so that takes me to my next question is regarding your salary wage adjustment. And so, yeah, you did bring up that there's a new salary schedule that will be in place for the program. But how many staff are going to actually be accommodated to that new schedule? And so that's the part that I always have an issue about, because one way or another, there's always gonna be that issue as incorrect information being put. And so just one incorrect PAF is gonna have its ripple effect. And that's the part I'm trying to figure out, how many staff are you guys looking at that will have the salary adjustment? And how assurance are you sure that this PAF are going to be correct? Because if you don't, then what happens is if it's not correct, then you have that game starting to be played out, which is retroactive payment. And then that just makes a whole nother mess of issues and concerns. And so what kind of assurance do you have to the committee that you will have that corrected PAF for each of the staff, for their salary is gonna actually, be changed and corrected as of October first? Did you guys receive a notice from BPM that you guys shared with the staff? That this is what's happening, these are the changes that are gonna happen? Because most of the time, when it comes down to it, staff at BPM are gonna come back and say, you know, it's the program. And then, of course, the main program is gonna say it's BPM. And then somewhere along the way, BPM is gonna say, well, it's payroll department. And it's just gonna keep going back and forth. And it's gonna have that issue to where you're gonna have staff not being paid. And that's where I'm getting to, is that I don't want to hear from any staff that this transition has caused them to not get a payroll check. We've always encountered, no matter what we have done. And that puts a lot of disharmony among family. When their payroll is interrupted, this one payroll is interrupted, it puts a lot of disharmony on them. And I'm saying this because the Division of Human Resource Director is here as well, and the Deputy Director is here, they need to hear it. They need to know that we need to have this smooth transition for our staff, and that no payroll should be interrupted whatsoever. And that is why I'm asking, you know, what assurance do you have from DPM that this will happen? Without interrupting not one staff payroll. And so that's the part that I'm trying to have you understand, and my reason of asking, yeah, it's good regarding the salary wage adjustment, but we encountered this. And so hopefully you can share that information with us. My next one is, I think Vice Chair brought this up, is your amendments to the 477 plan and providing shelter service. And so I would like to know where you're going to be provided these, where you're going to be providing these shelter services. And if this is going to be on the Navajo Nation, please tell us or share with us where the locations are. Because as delegates, as we serve our communities, we always encounter midnight calls or early morning calls. While we're celebrating our loved one's birthday, whatever it is, or we're sitting at the funeral, we're standing at the cemetery, we always get a call somewhere throughout the day as legislators of the Navajo Nation. And we're always told, you know, this is how I was abused and I have nowhere to go, where can I go, what are the contacts, who can I contact? And some of them, I had to contact you guys individually to get those individuals served. And so, and not does it just happen on the res, we do have it happening off the reservation, off res as well. And so where are these locations off the reservation as well? That will be providing shelter. Do you guys have that in place as of now to share that information with us? And if so, then provide us that information, that way we know that there are really shelter services out there that are currently being provided as you guys are making this transition. As you guys indicated on your report, that the programs will continue to operate as is. And then so that's another area that I really want to have you share that information with us. And I know I just wanted to correct you, Ms. Sinlatsa, Jim, I know you're probably trying to be nice about it. Your boss, division director, Mr. Thomas Cody, being on travel. He's been texting us, myself and vice chair, that he's on vacation. So if we could just be honest about where he's at. Because last week and this morning, he texted us stating that he's on vacation and that he won't be here. So he's not on travel, on business. So he's on vacation. And Vice Chair can concur that as well, as we received that text from him this morning. So he is not on travel duty for the working program, but he's on vacation. He has not to be bothered. He told us you're doing the presentation, so I just wanted to make that correction with you. Now, going back to page 2 of the document, your drawdown and expenditures, honorable documents did somewhat talk about this in Vice Chair. In regards to spending prior year funds. So which department are going to be utilizing or will be spending the prior year funding? Is that all the program that is under the division, or is it only certain departments? And so I would like to request on behalf of the HESI committee, by the end of the day, to have you guys provide us a drawdown breakdown listing of how much these programs have and how much they need to spend from prior years. And if you can share that with us, because when we were going back to your guys' budget, when you had provided your general fund budget under O and B report, under your expenditures, it was really low. You guys weren't spending the way it should be. The spending wasn't on the high standard of how you guys should be spending, and it was really low. And so that's the reason why I really want to know which department, and then the listing of the departments that have this 477 prior year funding. And then provide that listing to us by the end of the day, that way we have an understanding for this funding is. I think a lot of this will go back to how we move forward with OMB to provide a report to us. And I think somewhere down the road in our next meeting, we need to also get that updated information from OMB to provide us a listing of these drawdown funds from the 477. That way we have an idea for you have that funding sitting and where the funds are being utilized. And so I'm trying to avoid a lot of those issues and concerns that were brought up on the KLK floor and during the council meetings of how some areas were fundings were misspent. And so we were asked at that time by several colleagues from the council is, what is Alpha Education Human Service Committee doing about a lot of these misuse fundings that had occurred? And so that were finally brought up and made known on council floor. So it didn't not, it might be non-traditional to provide us that listing, the breakdown of each of the departments, and then we'll eventually bring in OMB somewhere down the road to provide that information to us as well. So it is like that, so I just wanted to mention that to you guys, and thank you very much for the information of the respect. Thank you. And I'll give you the floor back to the office.
I can acknowledge Chair Vince James for your comments and questions. I think our report, we didn't really probably frame the 477 well in describing it for those who are new to 477. But just to help clarify, Shananda, that there is no impact on our current staff because 477 is primarily a consolidation of our federal funds. Also a process of integrating our services. So nothing changes at the program level, at the department level. everything continues as is, even the staffing and positions. Because ultimately, all of our programs and divisions are going to move toward that 477 model once approvals are all completed, which we anticipate they will be. We just have to, get those coordinations completed with those funding sources. So already we are planning for our whole division to be moving towards a 477 process, which is with our funding sources. And the only change really is gonna be at the welcome center level, the welcome team level, where we'll be able to move one client through the system together, as opposed to our departments and programs working in silos. So 477 helps us move a family, a mother, a child through our whole division collectively, so we have that wraparound service. So that's what 477 is, and I want to make sure that we're helping to explain that, because there's really no impact with our Navajo Treatment Center for Children and Families, because we're already moving towards anticipation of an approval for them to go under 477. So our department manager is already making those transitions, those plans with IHS, so that we can all be under the same system for our task system with Eagle Sun, and then also with our salary adjustment. It's really the 477 plan that helped us kick off our discussions with DPM to get our salary schedule. And so it was agreed that all of our programs that are federally funded positions can move into that salary schedule, because the funds are there and the approvals were made. So I think instead of looking at it as 477 is creating the salary schedule, it's actually we are creating our salary schedule for our division, because we know 477 is approved, and we have those additional funds to give to our staff. So let me go ahead and turn some time over to Dr. Laura Knight, so she can just help again explain our 477 model.
Thank you again, Shinota. So the 477 plan basically is gonna be comprehensive wraparound and customer centered. So it eliminates a lot of the administrative burdens that we're faced with. And right now, how we're operating is, you can't do this, you can't do that. If you need help, we're gonna have to just refer you to the Department for South Alliance, to Department of Health, and we don't have follow through. So with the 477 plan, it's gonna help us to eliminate those silos, working in silos. This is ours, this is theirs. So we're gonna come together with a single plan and have a single budget, and we're gonna do single reporting. And we're collaborating right now with each department so that we're fully aware of what kind of services that we're providing. So we shouldn't be saying, oh, I don't know what DSR does, I don't know the eligibility criteria for this program for childcare. We're gonna be able to provide our clients a more streamlined service. So when they come in, we can say, welcome, and how can we help you? And we're gonna provide a warm handoff, ensuring that our clients have a staff member they're working with who's gonna be receiving them, who's gonna be helping them from the get-go. And we are gonna have some administrative burden still, but we're planning to work those through. We want to use our quality assurance specialists to kind of help us identify what's working, what's not working, what can we change, what are some processes that we have to revise and address in our plan. But it's basically eliminating a lot of those administrative burdens. So when a customer comes in, they should expect the same services. And when we say no impact to staffing, we're saying, there shouldn't be any reduction of hours or terminations or anything of that effect. They're gonna continue to provide the same services. So, Novel Treatment Center for Children and their families, and then the Arizona Long-Term Care Services are the only ones not under 477. But they are still part of our team, and they are gonna be included in our revised master plan of operation. Thank you.
Just really quickly, on page 3, that's where I'm getting my information. This is on your own report. Under the Apple Treatment Center for Children and Their Families, it reads initially NPCCF was to be included in the 477 plan. However, the Indian Health Service was not favorable to this request. As a result, DCF has removed NTCCF from the 477 plan at the bottom. And so that's what I'm referring to and currently advocating to the IHS for reconsideration. So that's where I'm getting my information. So I don't know how you're contradicting yourself as the whole division will go under 477 when your report on page 3 says otherwise. So that's why I'm trying to get the information for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Mr. James. So what that means is that NTCCF and Altex, they're not part of the 477 plan because NTCCF is receiving funding from both IHS and BIA. And then, Altex is state funds, so they're not gonna be under a federal program. However, NTCCF, we want to include, and eventually we're hoping that they will be approved. However, they're still gonna remain under the Division for Children and Family Services. So they're just not gonna be operating with 477 funding.
Session, internally, we are doing the restructuring of this process to make sure none of our clients are dropped. Because we do need the whole division to be a part of this process. It's just the funding that NTCCF will not get until they get approved. So we can still include them in this whole internal structure. And then to go to your other questions, Chair James. As far as the position, at OOC, right now, that position will be supervised by OOC. All we're doing is create a staff position for them because they are understaffed. And to take on this amount of funding from our federal funders is a huge task for OOC. And so, to have an additional position that they supervise, that can just focus on our funding is the reason, that was requested. But we will not be supervising that position. And then, to the next question, regarding our salary schedule, we can provide you, that listing of how many staff will be, a part of that salary schedule with, DPM, collaborating with us. The funding again is for the federally funded positions, which we are practically 99% federally funded positions. And, I agree with you, we need PAF assurance. And, I've been working with the nation for a long time and I know that can be a challenge. So we are gonna be using the automation system for PAF for all these, salary, adjustments. And we don't want to see any payroll delays or disruption of payroll. That is our goal as well. And, we've been an employee who was impacted before in another program not getting my payroll. It does create challenges for families. It does impact, their finances, their bills, and, we don't want employees to go through that. So we're doing everything we need to do on our end to make sure this transition is smooth with our salary schedule. And then to the next point, again, I hope Dr. Mike's clarification explains that we're not adding anything new with the 477 plan. And so our shelters will continue as is. If you need a listing of the shelters that we provide funding to, we can get that and provide that to you from our Department of Family Services. They do have contracts for shelters, and we can provide that listing to you regarding the shelters that we have on and off the reservation that we have contracts with. And I do apologize when I said Mr. Cody's on travel, he's on travel for vacation. That's, for me, I'm never on vacation, so when I travel, I know I'm still working. So with that, the last point is prior year funding, just to clarify. There's only 3 departments that are gonna be getting prior year funding. That's, Department of Child Care Development, the Department of Family Services, and the Department of Self-Reliance. So those are the only ones that will be using prior year funding. But we will get that printout for you on this report you're asking for regarding our breakdown of funds, our drawdowns, what we're spending, so that you can have that full report. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Honorable Unita?
Yes, thank you for the floor, Chair, and all of you. And then presenters here, yeah, well, I just got a lot of, just concern and some comments out there. You present here on your first page, you know, with the retention of current DCF, FS staff, you know, here it says, you know, there's a program that you guys are working, you know, practicing to continue the operation as it is. And then maybe, change to, personnel. And then your next page, it says, you know, doing a new, position. That's where, Helena Nez had brought up with, representation from different areas. And I believe that, you know, there's no representation from Utah. And then, you know, I think that you guys need to consider some individual that needs to be from part of that area. And then to avoid a lot of this for customer service that you indicated under last bulletin. And because of my concern on this is there's recently, there's an individual, the family that the mother was gonna have a baby, but she had a C-section, and then the doctor made a mistake and cut some organs inside of her in Chinle. So she was sent to Albuquerque, and you know she's been going through all that operation, and this has been going on for 9 months. And I've been emailing Thomas Cody, I guess he's on his DUI vacation or whatever he's doing. And he's not really responding to these issues over there to assist this family, and it's still going on today. And so finally, I contacted the IHS from Northern, and they're handling all this case, and I'm just wondering, you know, because this case, they're not, they don't have the confidence in this 4-7-7 plan. And that's why I'm thinking that the IHS is kind of thinking second thought on this. You know, as far as us, you know, we support this initiative 4-7-7 plan. And then you know, because of that, you know, I'm thinking about here with your on your second page with their review of tribal assistant system elements, you know, it with a second sentence, you know, it explains there that, you know, the son, or Inkle sons, has to instrument into developing a DCF as case management system. What do you mean by that, case management? You know, the case issue right there, I have a question on that one. And then, you know, you mentioned shelter. You know, we need shelters, you know, within our areas as well, and we just recently had a tornado that encountered in our area, so. We will need a tornado, victim shelter there, and I don't know if there's any shelters within our area there, because there's, some victims that, you know, they're, um. They're staying in hotels while the, NHS, NHA established a place for them for safe haven. I have those, questions and comments, thank you. Chair.
Thank you for that, Mr. Agent. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it to Dr. Andy Ness for follow-up.
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair. So, just two things. I don't know if anyone from your team was listening on the budget discussions, but I did propose an amendment that for a legislative concern. And that legislative concern was regarding our nonprofits. And I know that DCFS has supported nonprofits, some of the work. Unfortunately, on my end, there's been some challenges. I brought it up during the work session that we had earlier this spring. And then moving forward with the 477. So can you just explain briefly here how that will also be improved? I know that DCFS is everything seems to become a little flexible as far as the funding. And that one concerns me slightly, for some of the reasons that Chair brought up earlier, regarding just like mismanagement of funds, et cetera. And that's why oftentimes I'm not the biggest fan when you give, funding and there's a little autonomy tied to it, because then that kind of loosens the oversight and the accountability that's needed. And that's unfortunate in a lot of circumstances, because I think DCFS in your title, you know, you provide direct service to children and families. And so oftentimes they're put at a disadvantage because of internal whatever, right? And we see that, at least for me, when I was trying to push for some of our nonprofits to get supported by DCFS. And just some of those challenges, but then when the president's office leads their agenda through DCFS, then they get their materials sooner and quicker. And then I was thinking, okay, well, do I need to go to the president's office just to get help from DCFS on behalf of our constituents who do a lot of really good work at the grassroots level? And if that's something that I need to do, just let me know today, and I can always try and work through those types of mechanisms, unfortunately. Because I always think, and I always feel and believe that a lot of our, you know, work at a local level. And so that's why we've been, and I continue to push with being with them. So if you can just expand on that a little more. This legislative concern was that DCFS would provide a report to us regarding the deadlines for a lot of the nonprofits that come and are supported. For example, Battered Families, if you can also just briefly share an update if their award of their sexual assault and violence grant was awarded, or what timeline they have on that. And it's for that report to come back to the oversight, because what we see and what we hear is a lot of our programs, they're approaching their deadline and then they don't get funded. We've seen that with Battered Families, just recently, we've seen that with Mr. Claw and his team. And I know there's internal issues there. I know that we, in our court as well, to be really which of those, but also heavily weighted on DCFS. So that's what that legislative concern is detailing, and that's what it was passed alongside that budget. And then, I do want to reiterate what was mentioned earlier about, you know, just giving management of funds, really doing well, because, you know, one of my skepticism regarding the legislation that authorized the 477 was that it's kind of open-ended. That's why I was questioning a lot about how DCFS was gonna abide by federal guidelines, which you still will. But I just feel like every time we hear 477, it's like, oh, there's more, funding's not gonna be the issue, we get to carry over, it's like all just funding, like the money part. And money does crazy things to people. And, it's just interesting. So that's why I just wanna reiterate here that, you know, we shouldn't be as a committee, as an oversight, hearing those types of concerns. Especially because you're in a position to provide those direct services. And an administration that is temporary, our positions are temporary as well. We do the best we can. And we should do the best we can on behalf of our communities, and I think that should stay because that's what this plan entails. So I just wanted to make those final comments and ask that question regarding my projects. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you for that, and I'll go ahead and give it back to the presenters for a response.
Thank you, Vice Chair Simonson, and to go to Delegate Yenito Shinata. Thank you for your questions. And, we did monitor our response team, ready for your community out in Aneth and Montezuma Creek, so I'm glad that, everyone was safe and taken care of out there in your community, but just know that our division was on standby if we were needed to help that community this past weekend. With that, regarding your questions, with the emails to Director Cody regarding, Indian Health Services, I'm not aware of. However, that might be a question for Indian Health Services, so I can look into that for you and see what I can do to assist. And then for the Eagles question, our task case management system, it's kind of like when you go to the clinics and they take your name and they do your intake and they create a case file for you, and then they track you throughout your visits and they make sure you're getting the services you need. That's basically what our task system is doing for our cases that come into our offices. Any child, any youth, any adult, any elder that comes in for services, we track them by a case number and a case management system. This electronic system, all of our caseworkers can follow. So it's a system, and it's quite sophisticated, and our Eagleson team has helped us put it together. So any client that comes into our division, moving forward, will be able to track them throughout the whole process and see which one of our programs or departments they get referred to, and we can track the help and services they get all the way to the end when they are self-sufficient and get what they need. So that's what our case management system is. It's an electronic reporting system. Although, for shelters, when we're talking about shelters in our report, we're talking about domestic violence shelters, family violence shelters, we're talking about shelters for children, shelters for youth, and shelters for, any families that are experiencing, violence or any, children that need to have, youth homes to go to. So that's what we mean by shelters in our report. And again, we'll provide that full listing to, the HES committee. And then to, Dr. Ambinez Shinada. I hear what you're saying about the legislative concern, regarding the deadlines, for nonprofits and so forth. I don't have a status on Better Family Services right now, but we'll make sure we include that in a report back to you, so we can get back to the office and get a status on that. We don't have that information offhand right now. As far as whether the 477 plan will make our work, more effective with nonprofits, I think it will. Just looking at what other tribal nations are doing, once they get on the 477 plan, they're able to do a lot more, administratively and, with, financial management systems to, have that one office, which is our 477 office that will have a contract analyst, that will have a program manager, that will have, the, accountants. So we have the team to push those contracts and to work with as many, of the funding sources as needed. So I do think it'll make it more effective once we get that office staffed up. And then to your point regarding direct services to our children and families with our funding, I agree with you, and we'll definitely put that information into our reports as far as how many children we're reaching out to and how many families we're serving once we get our 477 funding report to you and start implementing that as of October 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. And do we have any more follow-ups from committee? Go ahead, Mr. Unit.
Yeah, thank you for your answers there. I was gonna mention to request for the transitions on your organization chart. And I have request for that. The vice chair, if you could.
Question. Dr. Anginez, do you have any more follow-up questions? No? Go ahead and give it back to Ms. Jim for a response.
Thank you, Shananda, and I'll get you, Anita, we can give you the updated organizational chart, which hasn't really changed, just that we do have now a 477 office. And we're getting that staffed up, but we'll definitely get that to you. And I think that's all we have in terms of the response. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Are there any other questions? Going once. Going twice. And if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and go to the vote stop, if you could help me with that. And accepting the reports.
Lena Neffigay, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable James, how do you vote? Honorable Dr. Andy, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable George Thomas excused. Honorable Chris Benita, how do you vote?
Great.
Honorable Jermaine Simonson. I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry, Doctor, Vice Chair, we have 3 members voted in favor. 2 members excused, or 3 members excused, including yourself. The vote is 3-0.
Thank you for that. And with that, we need to have your report approved, and we'll be looking forward to receiving the funding and expenditures and the request for both Dr. Anginez and that. Okay, committee members, we are moving on to our next item on the agenda. Which is old business, number 6. And there we have the legislation. So clarification, this finale, are we removing from tabling? Is that what we're doing? Or are we trying to hear the whole legislation again? Because then your primary sponsors are not here, plus their agent.
The, according to the last, according to the last one, they're acknowledge the reason that this business table. And also that he was beginning
So do we, if they're still not here, do we still want to take a look? No, we'll just move past it. Yes.
Vice Chair and committee members.
Yeah.
So I have a question, I'm gonna wait until I'm ready to finish discussing.
We're waiting.
Okay, so my recommendation, is because the motion to be tabled, I'm your sponsor here regarding this. So. Maybe some advice here. Maybe. I know they're both online, as of like, maybe 2 minutes, but I don't know if there's time. But. I see that as a little conflicting, considering this, Honorable Jesus is also the RDC committee who meets on the same day as S. Now, me as one delegate, I make accommodations for myself if I have that type of conflicting schedule. Because sometimes I have to go to RDC. But I'm kind of curious, like, would we, I guess, as a committee, accept like a written? Or I don't know how to do it, because otherwise we're just pushing this along and. I don't know if anyone is even getting any responses from Delegate Jesus. And then, so that's my question to legal is like, do we act until the motion is fulfilled, or do we have an opportunity to amend it to say written, or? I don't know, I'm just trying to figure out like, how do we, because this has been here for, and it keeps coming up like every S meeting now for like the past 2 months. But still, there's no primary sponsor, and then the agent, I don't, nobody from DOT is here either. So I'm just kind of curious, like, how do we proceed? Mr. Stant or Ms. French? I mean, I'm okay if we just have to do it again, but, you know, it's in the beginning. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Mr. Stan, Ms. French, are you on the line?
Yes, this is Candace. I will defer to Mac to answer this.
So, this is something that I'm not very familiar with. But you're right. I have also seen this on the SE agenda for several months now. And I it appears as if I don't know much about the law, so if Candace is deferring to me, then I will do research on it. But I'm tending to believe that there could be what we call just a time where time could run out on it, and it has been addressed on the agenda multiple times consecutively, where the committee has given it due notice and has tried to make it move forward, but it just hasn't been doing that. It's been stalled. If the committee is willing to give me a little bit of time to seek further advice from overall our office legislative council, I will move on that as quickly as can to get that. But I understand it has been on multiple agendas for an extended period of time now.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Stant, and I just, maybe the other way to do it is just send a nice courtesy email to the primary sponsor, which would be Ms. Jesus. And just letting her know that it will just remain maybe table until she brings it back again in person, which is what the committee here wanted. They wanted to see the primary sponsor as well as the agent. They want their presence. And so maybe if we send a courtesy email and just say that'll be it till you actually come with your agent, and you know, in committees, we have the ability to place items on agendas, so at any given time, and so I think that might be the way to proceed, but go ahead, Ms. Finelli.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, members of the Health Education Human Services Committee. The Health Education Human Services Committee does have the final authority for this particular legislation. And since the the time that this legislation was, introduced and referred to, HESI, after the 5-week comment period had, completed. I did send an email, and I always send an email to the, primary sponsors and the sponsors, for any particular legislation that is on HESI's agenda. And I did send a particular 2 emails to, Delegate Jesus and Delegate Bond. And I did CC Delegate Simonson, since she is listed as well. And, let them know, are you, to present your legislation. And I received chair, and then I did receive a response. That they were gonna present, their legislation, from either, individual. And so chair said that he would talk to Delegate Jesus. And that nothing is really resolved, from that discussion as well. So, but the legislative process does indicate that if the legislation is available, it will be on the next, committee agenda. And that's part of it. But if if our minutes could reflect that the recommendation of the Health, Education and Service Committee is that this remains table and not on the agenda until you receive confirmation from the sponsor, primary sponsor, Government Suits. And to place it on the agenda, then to do that. The other option is for her to withdraw it because the personnel, Department of Personnel Management is revising their personnel policies, and it does include a social media section on that. So even if this one were to pass, it would, I would recommend like a sunset clause on it when the Department of Human Resource and Department of DPM passes their personnel policies, because then that way it would run into conflict. The other options for delegated seats to just withdraw the legislation and wait for the legislation that's going to improve the personnel policies. But I will, if the committee can just indicate that for the record to proceed in that method. Until we hear from Delegate Susan, we can add it. And if she does show up, then we can add it. Thank you. Sure.
Do we need to, do, maybe some kind of motion and vote on it, or do we just express it as a directive?
Express it, it'll be on the record.
Okay. So the directive then would be, just keep it tabled until, Ms. Jesus, but we should, again, just sending that courtesy email. But we'll keep it tabled until she brings it before the committee or expresses or asks for it to be placed on a committee meeting a date of her choosing, and she can come with her, agent.
Chair?
Go ahead, Ms. French.
Yeah, I think the another option is that she might be able to get a co-sponsor if there's like a scheduling issue. If somebody's willing to co-sponsor, I think that's another way that we might be able to get this before the committee.
Ms. French, so it has expressed that they do want to they want the primary sponsor.
Oh, understand. Okay.
Yeah, so they are, because we thought we could be an assistant to Ms. Jesus, which is why you delegate Claw and myself on there. But the HES committee has expressed clearly that they do want the primary sponsor as well as the agent to be here in person.
Oh, understood. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. So we got that down right, Ms. Denali? Okay, so then we will move on, colleagues, to item number 7, which is our new business. And if you please, Denali or Ms. Denali, if you could read that for the record.
Point of order.
Point of order, I mean, you need something?
Are we supposed to take action on this legislation here before we go on?
We only just wanted our verbal clarification as to what to do with it. There's no action.
Question. So we have our new business and, back to you, Ms. Molly, to redo the director, Dr. Molly.
Dr. Dolly Manson to be the main college board of regents for a 6-year term. The legislation, does move on to the non-GM committee. And it's a proposed, standing resolution in the Planning Council third year. It is introduced by, Delegate also and co-sponsored by Delegate George Toad. And also as well as Delegate, Jermaine Simonson and Delegate, the legislation does, that has attached exhibit A, which is, a letter, and it's a appointment that will be accepted and it's recommended by, President of Affirmation, Dr. Bruce Nyman. And exhibit B is also a reply from, Dr. Dolly Manson, and it indicates that she's applying for the position. Also attached as exhibit C is a resume, of, Dr. Dolly Manson. Also, the next following that is the, transmittal letter, from the Office of Legislative Counsel to the sponsor. And it, the particular legislation did, go through its 5-day comment period, which was, on September 2nd, 2025, and it went in on September 7th, 2025, and no comments were received. Madam Minister.
Okay.
And, who would be, doing, conducting the co-sponsor and that
Okay. So we have, Shada Helena Nesbigay, who signed on as a co-sponsor. So she, will be, sitting for, stay in her same place, but she'll be, the sponsor to this legislation for, Dr. Madison. So we'll go ahead and, well, we have questions. Would you like a presentation? Committee members. No motion, okay. Motion. Okay, motion by Dr. Andy Nez. We have a second by Delegate Lena Nesbigay. And do we have any questions, comments? Going to you have questions?
Yes.
Or would you like to hear from the presenter first, or do you want to just go through with your comments?
I just want to hear from, Dr. Madison here.
Okay, how about she? So we have a delegate who would like a presentation from Dr. Manson, and we'll go ahead and give her that time.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, did you push?
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Shinanta, Panasonic, Ado, Adet not songs, because I don't know, because they know song is still pending. Members here in the audience too as well. Ado, I have a sheen, came for cottage that I know some do still. Yeah, into the sheet always. My name is Dr. Dolly Manson. I'm originally from, different South, Eugene. And I have a place north of Rocky Ridge, Medford, and have lived there most of my life. Moved just a little ways when we were relocated with, by the Navajo Hopi Relocation Office back in the 80s. And I have my mother still with us. She's 90 years old, and then my father passed away back in the early 90s. And I'm here with my spouse, Ames Johnson, as well, a former delegate. I don't share ya. She should be an although said she bashishin do There's a son eight that should change, don't fatness, and eight that should not, but eight son and shed. I don't want that, Chachin enaki, the neto, son. Shiyaj ya be, tashinal, I don't want that, should ya, should soka. Ja, Latin talen stone dakre. A kokota ya hawag kachimaba hashia. Nagade nashin shinde. The last job I had was at the University of New Mexico as an instructor at the Navajo language and culture. Ado ni nansh nado kadeya shimaba hashia, who requires my full-time care. Ako eya without and I just want to make a little comment as I was listening to your presenters a while ago, and you were responding, Ms. McGay, saying that we do need people out there in the remote areas. Need to make this comment that we do need people out there. Up then in Leyte, north of Breckenridge, we are in a very remote area. We don't even have a CHR at that. And I'm worried about my aunt. I have an aunt that lives down below. At that, and I think, but you know, not us, I thinking about her and some other young families out there, but mostly the elders, I think. Yes, they people like my mother, whose husbands, I think, were railroad workers. So they're just out there by themselves. And the reason being is that, I went and learned a lot about studied the social fields, sociology, psychology, some medical fields in my special education. And some legal fields through my special education too. Akodi and the husky, ila, the version who get best eat of the Okwa the day I eat that, Latin hitra, a dance on. So, those were some of the reasons I went to school. And, another reason why I went to school was my, and then I had a father. He really didn't go to school. I go eat that, she mother go eat that, you know, wala isn't the yeah, I think his battles and then the banana in trashes, you know, she jacked over to in who ate the battle scene. Because she been had a intention. This is in the former joint use area. Of course, she had all this had is the beta in Nande, the Hanadi, yeah. Ishe beta in Nada. Ebonina in trash, you know. Ato nila took a day when she needed. Ashing and the need as a doing how yeah. This shit I get Ashit and I mean not on so. And let all the sergeant. Base between Benashin, she last gone the hand there. But all that's a shine over that's to do at over cousin, but all that's one. Though double that's it's done the jungle and there's syllable harder, doesn't bother. And then a honey, you know. I don't did that. Ade she sto an ni in ka ni de no ade indi tashi on you can deal with the next drop things and out of a house see that or the but the hands but the young ski judge no ega what all she be and deal with. Was the best at the net, although that you're done with that, the chin, the wheat, na, the quarter she indeed was what effort order, that papa and also she need. Of course, she it and lady, what you
Do ina tani jini dan den hik hashina na hota bahan. Hashin zan nahal shata atanta. Chiyan da katkan chiki. Na nashe chiyan jo yesa. Kujit insan a ko. Ado la ande kajita ta jita nahal jisha. Ade nhana ita. But bahazun oitisa den da sone. Beta tendo ado da yoyan infinite. Ishina, Janine Dessel, I kind of picked that up and I stayed in school as best as I can. And I did not want to just come home and just be at home because there was nothing else for me at home anymore since our livestock was gone. Our homeland was gone, where we used to plant was gone. I don't go yeah with all that and yeah. And my education started with the BIA school, not too far from home, Breckenridge Boarding School called Yale. That's where I started. And that was the first time I started school at 7 years old. And I remember my grandmother saying, Akale ade na talako. Akata sa auntie, shelo da. Akaha, ishi asjanensen. Nagayda sa akot akashin itis kay alkaha no. Ade notice kay at si dash elo hat lager the tahalo at si hat akasa tahnahas oh. Opa ish eke ahot ojen.
I do.
Ket hadan kita dit ishi benek ebe dash leisure no. Doshi it's just eat and put a just notice like that. But I ba hunsen da ha ishi achen hunsen. A call little cut do it is cut a session no massen. Ishi ha if I share pusani nan little no. But other Hadeshi JK at the Kakwin Albany. I made up my mind I need to go to school. A call I was cut in the ship bed. Kisha my son yet other isn't no Asha Jana Ash. Later, there used to be a trading post, the never took trading post so gained she bought me 2 dresses, a pair of shoes, I think it was some underwears. Potato. I don't cut in the shit that and the whole thing was foreign to me. Itai ten fashinza the Lagano game to go date either. Though a honey gihad, I the neck just eat a hollow. The Lagana Kanahato Ziki ten. At ten on Hintish Natochiaho at ten. Hashim the Lagana Kashias he ten. A conte ultra the Lagana Kashibaya that he had no. I could all doshik at able doshik patsita. Has it all on the short and sort of I don't have your bonds and his heart even hear you and on so my grandmother put me to school until I was 7. So I at AK on his house, yes, she made that and the house in the Lagana catcher. The first thing I noticed was they took us into the restroom, the dorm attendants. There were 3 toilets sheet out there and that was the and then in the shower. A shower one ate the benhano and hidden she we stand on the table. And he can't say go put get that then change the behind say, oh you had to go back in there. And I thought I didn't know what was going on again. No. Toilet door not was open, that's the on that shit. Because out there we didn't have such things. I just go out way out there without the neck go open, that's the toilet end there. That does it shit off now, so. But they tell us on that high, they said, no, it's okay. Don't add that, no. But yet they said, "But go in the school, at the school, we're gonna go to school at the no yeah, in a principal, it's not a yeah, but it's not a teacher, the Asian beginner, kindergarten teacher, no, Asian teacher, no, last time a call. The didn't not quite his name, Sado, not quite his name, in a yeah, the opportunity, Yango, a yin, no. And immediately, you know, I grew up with a lot of Navajo stories. That's it, I shouldn't there's no doubt, and that's that, you know, I went back to my mythological stories that I've heard long ago. And here I have never seen a black person in my life. Ako and that. I've been on the ladies in school on hit out, ishot up. And then later, she left because you know, start us in. Oh, I had to go watch a guy with Lahashing. Immediately, I thought about eating again, associating the teeth with the eating again. Oh, the other yes, the. I knew which way my home was. I ran until they caught me. And they dragged me into the kindergarten classroom. Oh, I finally calmed down. Joe could tell that he had that yet. They thought, they chin up like on a baby son, had cut. And some of the parents are unless chin the hachi of like on it, thinking and believing that. Put out a yet or cattle or later than no, you know, but that's not true. I see that bizarre deep spells and that's the foundation business. I don't want it up a cocky. In that for that like on idea was after. I could see that. I could say lady. So from there, I went on to the city boarding school. I finished there and just because I did very, very well, they said again, according to them. The 900,000, and one day they asked my parents that they wanted to send me to this private school in Massachusetts. And my parents said, okay. I should hit the school officials. So I got sent away and I did my high school at Northfield Mount Herman, what in Massachusetts. And I went to school with a lot of students from all over the world. Mr. Pan was there. Ita Iranians sa boy and she limo the Bantaro. People like that was the Ishka and some other very famous people today, I think. The one that from there when I finished, I went to Dartmouth. I got in at Harvard, but I needed to go to a summer school prior because I guess that's how they did it, but I needed to pay my own way first. And I couldn't find money. So instead I went to Dartmouth. But then it was too expensive and it was just costly. And I have to constantly ask my father for money. Taxes, you know how they look at your parents' income, much fashion, 100 in the shop. But he didn't make that much money. But yet he didn't want to be paying, he didn't want to be sending money. Sean Lewis did because Lado Dashini even yet, you know, yeah. You know, no, it's just going up to 12th grade, nothing beyond there, So I just finally came home after a year and a half and then go back to Dartmouth. I just was here on the Navajo Nation. I did a few jobs, odd jobs, but I went and did a year of Navajo paralegal. She chairman, McDonald chairman. It was a program that I went through and I really liked it. And then from there in 1981, I wanted to go back to school and I saw this Navajo Times saying that whoever wins Miss Navajo, this was coming from the executive office or Mr. Chairman Peter McDonald's office and said that whoever wins Miss Navajo will get a full scholarship of a car. Over she's
washing and kitty shit. And so that's how I prepared. How did she know what? Yeah, no, what it up Fernanda Hudson. I did it all by myself, all on my own, hitchhiking around, finding this and that. And I could tell, yeah, and here I was now and did my work representing my Navajo people all over the place for a whole year. It was really, really exciting at the same time. It was a lot of work, but I managed, and at the end there, yes, I did get my scholarship, and I went to the University of New Mexico this time. And that's where I got my psychology, my master's in special education, and then I came home again and I taught special education on the reservation in Ganado, so, and later on, I went back again and to Las Cruces, New Mexico State, and got my doctorate in curriculum and instruction, though education leadership as a minor. That was how I went to school. When I got my doctorate, I went and taught just a little bit at U of A, though in a huge, special education. And then at Western Navajo Agency, education specialist with the BIE, so I really wanted to do something with my Navajo language. I just didn't want to be there one day when I'm like 100 years old and say, oh, the Navajo language is dying, there's only so many Navajo speakers left. I didn't want to hear that, I didn't want to see that. And so I left BIE, and decided to do something with our language. And that's when I started teaching my Navajo language. Here and there, you know, people were really surprised, and that's how I run my chapter meetings. I'm the vice president at our Harvard chapter. Everything is in Navajo all the time. So,
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Meester, how much time?
A minute and 1 second.
We have a minute and 1 second, would you like to waive your time? Okay, waive the rest of her time, and, do we have questions, comments, maybe, Randy, Sir Anita, do you have questions, or you just want to your group? Okay,
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and go to you first.
Christianity, you know, we're speaking now and all that. It was, so they. And then, you know, you're different, you know, everybody has education and all that and experience and all kinds of. That's all the same. In your part, you're different because, you know, you really express your Navajo language. Cool, you know, really think about it, you know, our kids and they don't know their prayers anymore. They don't know who to pray to, what is
exactly.
identity, what it represents. Yesterday, when I was on late, we had that tornado. And then and I always like that too, I was shocked, just hearing it. And then just, you know, observing, thing that a horse huge. On the night, you know, emotionally, the negative, yeah. So we had to fix that yesterday, and, you know, but we have that knowledge still. That they're not in prison, and that really calmed down everybody. In the, you know, like with our kids these days, you know, we just teach them how to speak English. And then some of them, they know how to speak Navajo, but they don't know how to pray. They don't know what Hassan means. All they know is that that's earth, that's it. and what it represents and how, what kind of, symptom that it provides and so forth. So you would actually, touching that, so. I don't know, she left off.
I've done it all my life. Even though my grandma said no.
Anyway, that's,
Oh.
that's what I'm saying, is, hopefully that we bring a lot of this, teaching into the Board of Regents, because in there, I know that all of your constituents will be the same,
Right.
educated in different fields. You look at all that, education experience, they're all the same. But where they came from, you have that value. It's ours, the kids are making our life. That's what we're lacking, is from the Navajo experience. So I showed you, they accomplish all the way your life span. They get all one teach, first shot. They got all they know, how I didn't call. You get in the what we not retired at the assistant to Yoki. So those kind of teaching, there's a lot of it that we're missing. So hopefully they can integrate a lot of that in your representation for our communities. That's what we're lacking, so I really wanna thank you for that. Experience that you've been brought up with and using that into your, I guess your commitment into your board of regents in that college. Yeah, I just wanted to make I didn't see the vice chair.
Thank you, and like mainly I heard comments from Mr. Unito, no direct questions, so any other committee members have questions or comments? And that, I'll get on this again. I'll give it back to you.
Oh, yeah, no, no, I think so, because legislation had it out, I always. As far as you know, I shouldn't be so heavy, now they can deliver, but I'm not going to hard of this, I don't. But man, shouldn't have to be able to let go. Don't you know, dog continent, actually, I'm still on the team, dog, and I'm team dog, like, probably I'm still on that, so there's an, his way out last year. So there's an behind that, he did not have to be able to go out, I call it, they would say, in German, go a so. To say, it's a proper time, to have still, where.
That was another comment from our sponsor, co-sponsor, edition. So if there's no other questions, comments, I'll go ahead and give it back to Dr. Dolly. Manson for closing out remarks, and then we'll go to vote.
Nana. Corda baka nadish aki amosa. That comment osagi. Nle skita Sami or that odo akut agi hana betashia hoa. I don't want the shamato. Hajonji was Hajonji donas passion or yunach ena or edan the Dobinshka the Sally no Echishina the Hadni. A coopeta is baffles and archipant ki Hajonji a yeba on Sindo Bashia hoa. A coation a Besazi dollars, I don't a tornado another people station. I should and I should not never discussion there. I don't want it a hat I don't sheet on me. I would really like to offer some contribution, some really good insight into how I could help the Dene College audition at Ashin Dana Sana Dasol, but ya see between the Yagate in his Adona Tina. It me Yahada Shin Day 19
1968, yeah, not exactly 100 years from the law. Equitami, ya etni, ya no ado da kwa hani agenda of no area. It's media, ako 18 put on his voice, and that is where I've always wanted to help us. Kita akong sindi ka na the topic ka voice. Ako ado kaya nanti dishes.
Kasi siya siya ka na paano sa neto ka nanish na hindi sa pahitsi ba kaya ano ang internet na basa IC ye ko benda di ado je non be anati scritto di ne cioè na den ni no be here so yeah and go ahead and go to Ms. Benali to, I believe there are no other questions, comments, and we'll go ahead and get a vote from them.
Delegate Jimenez beginning, how do you vote?
I vote green.
And delegate, Chair, Sargent, how do you vote?
Delegate James votes for.
Thank you. And delegate Dr. Edwin, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Thank you. And delegate, Curtis Vito, how do you vote?
Great.
Thank you. And Vice Chair, you have, 4 members voting in the green and the affirmative. Generally, votes and one not voting.
Okay. And Health Committee then moves your confirmation on to NAMI.ai with I was it Julissa who reaches out to folks. It might be Julissa Johnson, she'll get email from you, so make sure they have your correct email and your phone number. The 25th is our next NAMI, so most likely it'll show up on there, and NAMI will be the final stop, so
Okay.
I know that, my colleagues have been adamant about meeting, any of our commissioners or board members during NAMI, so they'll want you in person. So the 25th, and it's usually in our council chambers unless for some reason we can't meet there. We usually go to NDOT, but most of the time it's there and usually starts at 10 o'clock.
25th of September. Okay. How was she? Yeah.
Safe travels back. Okay, thank you, Gavin, I'm here again.
Aquafina, again, thank you very much again, for that item of your new business, which is legislation number 0210-25. Don't you know, I saw the.
Okay.
No, thank you. So with that, we'll go to item 8, close of meeting, announcement adjournment, and that is Monday, September 22nd. October 13th, October 20th, October 27th, 10 AM, SC regular meeting on the Arizona Budget and Finance Conference. So with that, committee members, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Honorable Curtis Unito, and then do I have a second? Second by Honorable Rita Nancy Gay, and that is to adjourn 58 PM. And so with that, you vote. Questions? Sorry, Honorable Lieutenant.
Yeah, I have a question on that. No, I do have a comment though. So I think for our next meeting on the 22nd, if we can just put as a discussion to reschedule our Monday, October 20th meeting, because it falls on fall session. Yeah, sure. Okay.
All right, so those dates will need to be changed. I think we need to correct it or make those changes of dates.
Which one there?
The military schedule to 20.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We'll do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so with that, for adjournment at 12 or 1 PM. For 1 PM, motion made by Honorable Unito, second by Honorable Hernandez Gay. There's no other questions. Comments, did you want to do that today? Do we schedule the 20th?
Preferably, I would today.
What days are you guys available? Committee member? Can I talk to this?
Thank you, Chair. So, can I propose the morning of October 9th? At 8 o'clock. Before 9 p.m. I know we always resort to the first Monday, but I'm gonna resort to the second Thursday, which is 9. At 8 o'clock. Colleagues. That's my right. Chair.
Thank you. There has been a recommendation to reschedule October 20th to October 9th. 8 AM. Are you okay with that?
What about, oh, we're gonna be 29 on the 6th, 7th.
Something like that.
We're gonna meet at 8 o'clock. On the 7th, since we're all there already.
Oh, where are we going to Arrows for?
Well, we're going to Twin for 7th, 8th, and 9th.
For the IHS, I can check about that.
Always have the 2 days, I just.
Oh,
Yeah, August the 9th.
Hospitals have said that 20 hours that they're, not available. I have the notes, it's, really, they're not available to accommodate the meeting on the 6th or the 7th. So they were, trying to see what, they could, what other dates could, schedule to meet at 20 hours.
Okay, so the 6th and the 7th out then.
The South,
Yeah, it won't be at 20 hours.
Yeah, because I think we're gonna meet at 9 o'clock, we're gonna meet at 9 o'clock, and that's 8 o'clock their time.
But they don't have availability.
Well, at this
20
point,
hours.
yeah,
All right, so 20 hours is out. There's no availability on the 6th and the 7th. So it's out.
I don't know
But,
about that.
even if we were gonna meet there, in the morning, their time, if there's still be like savings time, it's gonna be 8 o'clock their time, their staff doesn't get there until 8. So there would be nowhere for us.
What time do we switch back? Or when do we switch back?
On November.
Oh, is that on November? All right.
On November.
All right.
So we
If
could,
we meet at 9 o'clock. I mean, if we're meeting at 8 o'clock, it's be 9 o'clock our time. Because they're an hour behind, they're not standing time, so it'll be 8 o'clock their time.
their 20 hours staff, that's until 8.
But they're not meeting, we're not having a meeting, so this 6th and 7th is out, is that what you're saying?
Not right now, they're trying to work on it, the hospitals along with Twin Arrows, to generate that.
So
We'll find out agenda for the 7th.
I can, follow up with them this afternoon, and then give you an email, like what dates that, that Twin Arrows is recommending.
well, if they can't do it, then let's just do it, virtual Zoom.
Okay. Here,
Either we can do it here or everybody can stay home and do it virtual. And just listen in.
with IHS, okay,
There's no place. So. We'll see what happens. Maybe we can do that.
yeah,
Whatever they can do their meeting.
okay, yeah.
If not, if they have that area office available too.
Well, mine is closed, I can go there in person.
Yeah, we'll figure something out.
Und hier in den Krankenstraße.
Or we can take it to Elena's area too.
Well, they could be the, I just, they're gonna be at 20 rooms, so.
Guess it's up to them.
Yeah, it's up to them.
It's up to them,
So
but
8 o'clock, yeah, on the 9th, that's what it's,
our time will be 9 and
no, on the 9th, at 8 o'clock here.
What, sorry, yes.
Anderson.
Director Anderson.
That's what I said, so just stay with 8 o'clock here.
Okay, October 9th, 8 AM then.
I thought all this was planned already, that's why
That's what I
suggested that.
first time here.
Yeah.
Regarding that, they could, space.
Yeah, well, I contacted the hospitals and told them, you know, these are the things that we're looking at. Can you please, accommodate the arrangements at Two Narrows?
How about one more, 5 seconds?
Yeah, you could go with the
You can actually find a place in Flagstaff,
Yeah, like Little America.
something like that.
Or Little America?
Yeah, I could do that.
They usually meet at, what's it, Little America? Is that what it's called right there, the Butler? For that
Yeah,
Little America.
tribal formulation, budget formulation, was it at?
I went to Little America.
Yeah, that was that. Big America, Little America, I mean.
okay.
I think.
No, I think it's Little America,
Little.
yeah,
Oh, it's totally.
yeah, Little America.
Okay, I won't be asking for the phone.
So, but Ella, they can't know for the record that we do have a Eastern Agency representative here with us. Honorable Stephen R. So, yeah, thank you. For joining us.
Question. There's a work session on Thursday. Do you know what that's about?
My legislation, 168,
Just come
or 169, that did not higher education grant.
This for 2 million, what was it?
30 million.
30 million. 30 million.
30.
30. And you're starting at 9 o'clock?
Okay.
Can you include
It's likely to be at ATU Chimney's campus.
into you?
Chimney's campus.
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Sounds great.
Yeah. Oh.
I thought this makes my hair sugar ready. I'll be there for a while, and I was when I heard the show.
We'll probably have good lunch.
I'll be on my phone.
Oh, it's
I'm gonna be there for about 4.
Right. But that's just coming Thursday.
But that was my question, so I'm glad I asked or else I would have. And over here.
Opposition or amend your, a separate one? That makes it order.
Okay, ready? All right, we're still on live, so. So with that, we do have a motion. Are there any other questions?
On October 9th?
October 9, 8 AM over here. Then we have Navi at 10 AM that same.
All right.
Okay, so it's.
No, do you want still to check Little Americans available?
Yeah.
Okay, that would be first and then not,
And
then
to send it out.
but you want a special meeting on October 9th?
So if they say 6. 7. We'll still have time to come back. Yeah,
So October 9 is in lieu of October 20.
Oh. But if the hospital says that they can get Little America on the 6th and the 7th of October, then we'll be out there. We could have a meeting out there, but, it won't be official. It's not gonna be, but, yeah. We could always come back to, police department.
Yeah.
And then have our HESI meeting there, either the 7th or something like that.
Go off here for not being so.
And then we'll be here again for Navi that morning, anyways.
Next day,
No, 2 days later.
2 days.
Okay. Cause our meeting will be the sixth and the seventh, and then we'll travel back on that Wednesday, the seventh,
Just the ones that for the immediate, yeah.
the eighth, travel back.
Yes, Chair, so if Little America's not. If they're booked or whatever, maybe one. Of the 6 to 8 anxious that we've identified is that they can host. Because I'm sure they have, like Delta has hosted us before, physically hosted, so that way we can go there. The city has hosted us before. So just to see who's available.
For everybody,
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't gone to the,
we haven't gone to Canton.
Maybe it'd be in Kansas.
maybe you can ask the answer for it.
After township for their, I believe.
If they don't care if it's not available.
Where's that at?
Right there at the corner, one of another streets, but.
The high school.
And at the famous restaurant.
Across blue coffee, is that what it's called? Blue Coffee Cafe? Yeah, it's right off the highway, the main highway. I'll just shoot you.
I think Ghent has a chapter and a township. I remember two.
Yeah, it's a hospital, you think, I have.
They have a fun. They have a nice big.
The hospital probably has an outreach,
Yeah.
I've never been in.
I've just never been in there.
Your health.
That's probably a good place, just to know, Ian healthcare facilities,
Do kids over there?
yeah, you are meeting. at the
That way you can
Ianta
take it to
Healthcare.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have a healthcare. It's a very new facility, so they probably have a.
Can't, left the town fall.
The medical hospital. facility.
And we're fighting all the other HS
Yeah.
facilities. So you should probably make sure to accommodate 20, 30.
Well, I'm pretty sure, maybe we could do to the city and Kienta over there.
What's in his conference room system?
I know, but. That actually mentioned.
Oh, just those two.
Yeah.
I think what Shiprock said too, because you have.
Yeah, maybe sit rocking too.
I should have.
Well, our new plan was to bring them together.
Oh, bring all the ones on the side together.
So we had done Shiprock and Ianta. And I know I'm missing one more.
Do the city also. Oh, Jim,
His son had to go to that school up in.
They could have it done.
We went to the July, we went there.
I think the listing happens. From you Shiprock.
Also, I could bring all this up.
No, we weren't. Generally too.
So four. Those
Yeah,
four.
but we, in our initial original, whenever one, we only included the three. Which was Kian, Shiprock and Cromwell. But if you wanna include Chinley in this one, that's fine too.
Let's do it the same.
Okay, any other questions? So that will be October 9th, 2025 at 8 AM in lieu of Monday, October 20th meeting. And that is because of our fall council session that will begin that day. October 20th. Okay. All right, so with that, let me go back to adjournment. That will be at 1:13 PM. And so there's no other question. Motion is by Honorable Yumiko, second by Honorable Lena Nancy Gay. Honorable Yumiko, how do you vote?
Great.
Honorable Dr. Nance?
Great.
Honorable Vice Chair?
Great.
Honorable Lena Nancy Gay? With that, we have 4 in favor, 0 opposed, and 2 not voting, that includes Chair and Honorable Tosh. So with that, we are hereby adjourned at 1:13 PM. Thank you very much for joining us. Safe day, safe travels. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys just moved over here.
The old business, we have, we're gonna stay table, but we're gonna send her courtesy email to say that has